Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. Let me just pause that music. Welcome, one and all. Good to be here with you on this Monday evening, November 17th. 17th. What an important number. What an important day. Uh, I thought about coming live over the weekend. And if you can imagine what every day is like for me, it's not unlike what it is for you in terms of the sheer fire hose of information that's coming out. But the difference is I'm compiling a lot and putting it into a format that I want to share with you in a way that will kind of give you um, a big picture view of what's going on, what's happening in the world. So, time off is critical for me. You see a lot of people that are kind of not throwing in the towel, but taking a break and stepping out off the hamster wheel of information, as you will, if you will, like in terms of constant, talking about the things that are happening, keeping us in that three-dimensional level. And so for me, time off is crucial to be able to kind of step away from that so that I'm also non-reactive as well. And I think that's what you'll find about me. I want to go to the chat soon, but I did want to get your feelings on, the Trump, the Epstein stuff, the MAGA is dead, all of this rhetoric that's happening. Excuse me. I want to get your feedback on, are you reacting? Are you getting angry? Are you questioning our path, if you will, and that that whole vibe, because we're seeing so many people jump the MAGA ship because of the Epstein situation, and so many women are perfectly timed, by the way, to come out for this narrative. Like, we haven't heard from people in years and years and years, but it just so happens that President Trump has mentioned several times in the Epstein files, nothing that is damning, and that's what I find really interesting, is that how they're trying to pin something on the person who has absolutely been behind releasing them, but then stopped and said that they're a hoax and all these kind of things that really made the Democrats step up and start calling for the Epstein files, which was pretty unbelievable. All right, so let me just go to your recent comments on that. Paul says, I still trust the plan. Awesome. Diane says, hey, everyone, I'm from Canada, and no, I'm not supposed to worry, but it's getting bad here. Yes, it is. It's getting bad in many, many places. Canada is not the only one. But I tell you that those ostriches that gave their life, I think, will lead to a freer Canada. BP, I admire your seeking and wanting to show us, Dave. Thank you for that. Dave, that's all it is rhetoric. Yes, exactly. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you. Texas Patriot Chick, no anger here. Comfy with my popcorn. Awesome. Let's see. Chandler posted on several occasions pictures of satanic photos of children. Yeah, not on topic here, unless I'm missing something, Jules. This is just looking for kind of the responses to what's going on. I think the MTG developments are exposing the fake MAGA ship. Yes, I agree. Gusto, good point. I'm more pissed off at how blind people still are about what is going on. That definitely, that's a hard one, right? To kind of sidestep, Kevin, because we see people every day and we know where they stand, or we have a conversation about it, and it's very frustrating. Flower power. Yeah, everyone needs time away from all this. We've had 4 years of Democrat fatigue. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Wendy agrees with Gusto. Quasi Pete agrees with Gusto. Red smells like panic to me. I'm trusting in the plan. Beautiful. Beautiful. Maggie, MGT is a traitor. She's MAGA will always be strong. Yes. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit too. Ravens Wings. Nope, not angry. If you know Q, it had to be this way. Absolutely. Cat Mother B, good to see you. D, good to see you. Not at all. It's the popcorn show. Hunter Sabo, thank you for that. Drank out of your beautiful mug that you got me this morning. It's actually in the dishwasher with Jasper and I. So thank you again for that. I still trust the 17th letter. Awesome. Flower power. Tommy says, I'm not reactive towards it. It's just another day of Democrats crying. Exactly. MEGA or MAGA? Exactly. It's definitely exposing the MEGAs, which is Make Israel Great Again, because MAGA can't be MEGA. It just doesn't work that way. Demon Rats got played. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cindy, thank you for reposting. And folks, when you repost, please tag an influencer that you like or think needs to learn about Q, please. And also, if you're reposting on Facebook, maybe send it out to a group. Thank you for that. Wendy, MAGA not dead. Epstein release it all. Yes. Let's see. She wants to be president. What a loudmouth clown. Yeah. Let's see. I sure hope the Epstein files and Mark Carney, PM of Canada. I'm sure he's on it. It's bloody awful here in Canada. Yeah, Carney's being exposed. Yeah. Trillium says Epstein will be a takedown like nobody has seen before. I agree. Gino, good to see you. Farah, Dave, I am in Northern California. People are not doing very well here. Yeah, it's California is a mess, and there's a lot, unfortunately, that have fallen to the mainstream media. Piccinini, no, Dave, I'm comfortable. I know there's still a lot of exposing. I listen to Just Human. He says a lot can't come out due to the way the law is for court cases. D says, I find myself not on X as much and needing to chill more. It's exhausting seeing how many are still asleep, but I still trust the plan. Yeah. I'm sorry, but MTG is wrong. Exhausted at times, but I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. Absolutely. Epstein tied in Clinton's, and they were definitely trying in many ways to trap Trump early on. Absolutely. And if anything, those emails showed that they were trying to get Trump. And, he's somebody I think that saw right through that. Gail, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Pappy Two Bears. Good to see you. Trust the Q plan. Awesome. My patriot friends are laughing at MAGA is dead. No way. Exactly. Satan running this world. Love God, not the world. Exactly. My friend base is down to about 3 people. I feel you, brother. Let's see. Fake MAGA, it's all, but MTG Trump is fake. Kind of kayfabe, right? Kind of like Musk. Yeah. Cheryl says, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you, Dave. That's awesome, Cheryl. Thank you. By the way, Saturday night I watched a complete unknown. And turns out, directed, I didn't realize this, but James Mangold directed that. And I knew James. Our children were in the same class together, and good man, certainly liberal, non-Trumper, but I believe a good man. Like I don't think he's caught up in a lot of the Hollywood stuff. I know his family, but great movie. I mean, obviously, I had to push away so much that I know, right, about all these musicians and how they were so counterculture, and they were part of the revolution of the 60s, right? And when most of us were born into the 70s, and just so I had to kind of push that away, knowing how they turned, but they were so counterculture, and then they played along with the whole COVID and the vaccine and the whole bit, and it's just disgusting. So most of those musicians I don't listen to anymore. But what was really good that came to me was like this almost like they had at the time control over the counterculture too. And when you see documentaries about Laurel Canyon and the CIA and the Doors and who their parents were and how they were tied in with the CIA, and how so many of these artists now today are represented by the CAA, which is a creative artists agency, which I've showed you, was right next to an office I worked at in the Twin Towers, the same architect that did the Twin Towers in the World Trade Center in New York. The same architect created these two triangle towers in Century City, and that whole area. It's the what do you call it? The let me see if I can pull this up for you. Let me see. I don't have it ready, but maybe I'll pull it up a little later, because I did have some open today. But this this whole thing about and now in the CAA, I don't know if he still controls it, but was controlled by Ari Emanuel, who was played by Jeremy Piven in the show Entourage, and he is Ari Emanuel is Rahm Emanuel's brother, Rahm Emanuel, who worked in the Obama camp, and it makes me realize how absolutely controlled this is. So what I was going to say about the grounds is it's the Masonic compass, and you look through the CAA building, and then there's the all-seeing eye of the above the Masonic compass as a fountain. And it's a very Masonic structure, the whole grounds. It's kind of like the grounds in DC. Like, the Masonic patterns that it creates. So the whole thing felt to me like, oh my God, was that controlled? Like, did they have control over some of those people, even some of the folk artists? And the answer is, when you realize that you have to sell your soul in order to make it in Hollywood or make it in the music industry, you realize, yeah, they were all a part of that. Maybe they set out with good intentions. Maybe some of them held to their roots, like the folk musicians, like that didn't get amazingly popular, like the Pete Seegers and the Woody Guthries and things like that. But it made me realize that Dylan didn't change the world, and Springsteen didn't change the world, and Neil Young didn't change the world, and so many of the Rage Against the Machine and all these musicians. And then when you see all these musicians that came out in support of the CV jab, you were like, what? You're stepping in line with the machine. You're not raging against the machine. You're like running the machine. And it was just so very disappointing to all of us, but how important that was to know who I want to listen to from now on, who I want, to ask for a request, who I want to do karaoke for, play their song. And I'm so glad for that now, because it's a brighter step forward. It's a new earth that we're stepping into. And what I see happening, so that it was a wonderful night. I kept rewinding. The music was fantastic. I highly recommend it, by the way. And James did an amazing job with it, in my opinion, because it is a part of our history. And it was during a time when we thought the second American Revolution was going to happen, because kids in college started, smoking marijuana, which breaks the mind control. They started doing LSD because MK Ultra was running those programs through the professors and trying to find out who the kids were that had fractured childhoods, so that they could train them for the brainwash them for the MK Ultra program. So LSD was making its way into the colleges. So both of those things break programming. And so it was kind of like we kind of saw a second generation coming, and was probably the primary reason for the need for the false story about the Gulf of Tonkin, with USS Maddox being fired upon, which was never fired upon. That was, corroborated by interviews of soldiers fresh off the boat in San Diego, and also McNamara, on his deathbed, said, it was made up because they needed us. They needed the false flag to get everybody on board with going into Southeast Asia. And so you see all this play out, right? And you realize that, my gosh, that was a really strong American push against war. And it went to extremes because, as many of you experienced, and our families experienced, that many people took it out on the soldiers that went over there, when they were just, following orders, and they thought they were fighting for their country. And when they came back and their country turned on them, it was a very devastating impact on the minds that had already been completely crushed with the horrors that they'd seen in Southeast Asia. So it was a time when we thought, like, this is the second revolution. Like, we're fighting against the man. There's the hippies emerged, and this counterculture emerged, and it was really beautiful. It was love and peace and joy, and it was a very pure time in our human history that you and I were born into. But then we realized that never crested. That wave never crested. It just kind of fizzled out. And so all of those people that were involved in that, they weren't able to break free from the indoctrination, even though they were able to, maybe in their own lives. They weren't able to break humanity free from that. And I bring that up because I got very contemplative over this movie, because it's almost like, James takes you back into that time period. He brought us into that time period very beautifully. And so we weren't able to overcome this mass brainwashing, this mass indoctrination, because people were still tuning in to Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and all these CIA assets that we didn't find out until 1975, that were working for the CIA. And if they had that many people, 400, in the mainstream media at that time, how many did they have in music? How many did they have in the movies and the television shows and all that? And when you think about all the programming that was coming out through the television shows, to sell products and so forth, and all the Star Trek and the Outer Limits and Martian, all coming from different planets, and how we're a spinning ball in space, and the Universal logo and all that. You realize how much of that was programming. And the fact that we're breaking the programming, think about the people. If somebody stepped up to try to break that programming, they are eliminated, or they are censored or terminated off platforms. Then along comes Donald Trump and Q. And the mainstream media, nobody has gone after Donald Trump like the mainstream media ever in history. Number 2 on that list, and we went to a drop just last week on this. Number 2 on that is Q. Q was absolutely, completely torn apart by the mainstream media. They tried to discredit in so many ways. And I'll take you to a post I did. I hope many of you saw it. I got to put this, by the way, I'm going to embed this onto Snedheads here. I have not done that yet. But I have shared this out, and thank you all for sharing this out as well. But I'll take you to my post that I did. Let me just drop this real quick on Snedheads here. And thank you all that are going on Snedheads and contributing and posting and sharing. And by the way, if you go on Snedheads, let me take you there for a moment. If you go on Snedheads, you can see tonight's show right there. Okay. And if you want to share the link, okay, you can share the link, and it'll give you a shareable link has been copied to the clipboard, right? So then let's say you go on Truth Social and you post that link. Tonight's show, and you truth that. And then if you were to, by the way, my Truth Social, that's me dunking, and I think that's in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, I believe that is. But I played basketball yesterday, which was awesome. But also, I'm feeling it today, no question about it. But let's go to, hold on, let me go to Truth Social real quick. And because I closed out of that, I lost that. And I'll share this with you. This is what it looks like when you share out a link. Now, this is going to be really important. So you click on this link. This shows up so people can see this. They can watch the show. And down at the bottom, it says, get involved, join us at Snedheads. And then they can click on this. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because you're going to have a specific link as a member of Snedheads. And you're going to be able to share content out from the website. And when people come in, you'll get tokens because I'm tokenizing the whole platform. And you're going to be getting tokens that are tied to real dollars as well, in valuation of the site. And you're going to be able to share that link. Somebody comes in and signs up through that link. you get tokens for that, and you build tokens. You also get tokens for everything you share on Snedheads within Snedheads, or comment or post. You get points for all that stuff. That is all going to be quantified by a tokenized system. And then everybody that joins, the value of the platform rises, as does your membership. And so I anticipate people are going to be buying many memberships, because it's almost like you're investing in the growth of the platform. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, because you're going to own a piece of the revenue of Snedheads, and which is going to be soon changed to the Rubicon. And I'll tell you more about that later. But the Rubicon with a Q, Rubicon, the con is a Q, and you're going to love it. I think you're going to love the whole setup, because right now you're sharing Facebook, you're making Zuckerberg rich. You're sharing Twitter, you're making Musk richer. You're sharing, YouTube stuff, you're making, Google richer. So it's, but this is going to be, you're going to be increasing the value of your own membership. And that's going to be significant. So I look forward to sharing more of that with you as I get closer. But I just kind of wanted to give you a kind of just a taste of that, and why I've done all this. Because when I say this is your social media site, meaning Snedheads, I mean it's going to be your social media site. Like, you're going to have a vested interest in this site. So join us. And if you're a paid member, your tokens increase significantly versus an unpaid member. So that has yet to be worked out specifically, but please join us and be a paid member. And that's why I've told you, the people that are in first, they're going to be really happy that they got in. So imagine getting into Facebook when it had, just under 700 users. I don't anticipate being as big as Facebook, but I anticipate being a hell of a lot better than Facebook and, the other platforms, because of the sheer level of quality of people that are going to be on there, the accountability that's going to be on there, the privacy, the security, especially with the AI popping up like it is. Yeah, so pretty amazing. So let's see. So back to the topic here, is just the sheer level of control that they have had over humanity, and how even with all those folk singers and all those festivals and the LSD and the cannabis, and they still weren't able to break free. Yet we are now, which is why Trump is being attacked, why Q is being attacked. And they're doing it like, whether it's a white hat script or a black hat script, it is working perfectly. And so when I thought about going live this weekend, I'm like, you know what? My listeners don't need me to go live. Like, we know what's going on. This isn't anything that I that is new to us. Like, we know this is what's going down, and we can see it. And not only can we see it, but we expect it, right? So so what I wanted to take you to was my post from I want to say this was, what day was this? This was the 14th. So that was that Friday, right? So I just said, so this was Elaine Stein shared QAnon's false and dangerous beliefs, began in 2017 with an anonymous post from Q, believe Trump uses coded language, believe JFK, UFO, 9/11 conspiracies. Yeah, we do. Believe world run by Satan worshiping pedophiles. Yep. Believe U.S. leaders, celebs, part of conspiracy. Yep. Believe this cabal kills, eats victims. Yep. Believe Trump is a hero. Yeah. Yes to all those, by the way. False and dangerous beliefs. First of all, we're not QAnon. We're Q, and then, of course, the Anons. And so Trump praises conspiracy group deemed a terror threat by the FBI. And that wasn't the good FBI. And so I said, just a question to all the Q naysayers who call Anons Q-tards, who, by the way, are great researchers and wide fucking awake. How does it feel to be on the side of Anderson Cooper and the mainstream media? All of this for a LARP, as Q had asked. Thanks for the laughs. And I shared that with a bunch of Anons. And so, for me, this is how this is playing out. And I did this on Friday as well. Do you see how this is playing out? Democrats screaming for Epstein files, fake MAGA and agents exposed, slow release due to the direct tie to Israel, which is absolutely true. When all the Epstein stuff comes out, his banker is going to be J.P. Morgan, and his bankers, his bosses are going to be Israeli Mossad. Files, once fully released, exonerate real Donald Trump. Media that has been asking for them for the first time ever. Think about this. The media has never asked for the Epstein files. For the first time ever, are forced to cover the real evildoers. Crimes far outweighing of any innuendo of Trump involvement. Israel exposed for the honeypots and clients they control. With Gaza war crimes and corruption, Netanyahu falls. With an awake population, info agents, and Israel never recover. 7, deep state falls. 8, Q plus NQ exonerated. And 9, Anons and MAGA patriots elevated. Magnificently scripted. We have it all. Enjoy the show. They got 2.7 thousand views. Thank you for all those who shared that. 28 people. So really good. And right below that is a post, a Snedheads post by Heather Willard, and this is the way this shows up. This is the congressional midterms will be held on November 3rd, when all 435 members of the House and 35 seats in the Senate will be up for election, 13 currently held by Democrats and 20 held by Republicans in a regular election cycle. Special elections will fill the additional 2 Senate seats to replace J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, who are now Vice President and Secretary of State. The Republican Party currently has a slim majority in both chambers, and Democrats are looking to challenge that. Awesome. And then if you want to get involved, you click on this, join us at Snedheads. And Heather gets some legs on that post, and next thing you know, people are signing up underneath her. So what we're seeing is very expected. Q has told us all assets will be deployed, and that we are seeing without question. But they've never been able to get them. And and then we have this the thing about Massey and Green and Rand Paul that Trump is going after is, see, they don't see the big picture. They don't understand that Trump is changing the world, and they're still playing politics. Meanwhile, they haven't done shit, not at the level that President Trump has. They've done stuff for their own state and so forth, but they haven't broken us free from the matrix. And that is what Trump is doing. Now, a lot of people are critical because of his ties with Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance's relationship with Peter Thiel, and how Thiel has got Palantir and is tracking us and monitoring us. Well, folks, anybody who's got one of these, that's already happening. And Facebook, listening, watching your shit, if you have Facebook loaded on your phone. Twitter, they had to get Trump off Twitter because the C-level executives were able to track him in real time with his tweets, and they can do that with us as well. That's why Snedheads is so important, because it's more like a small town social network, and we don't track you. It's private, and it's going to be awesome, and it already is awesome. We already have almost 700 people on there. And so please go check it out, folks. If nothing else, just to support somebody who's bringing something different to the table, because that's what we need to support. We need to break our addiction to free, and we have to break our addiction to convenience, because that is how they have controlled us since the break of dawn. Okay? Without question. They use our laziness, okay, and our lack of conviction against us. That's a fact. So if you want to break free from this constant monitoring, tracking, listening, watching, get over to Snedheads, because I think that's the new model going forward, because people are going to be tired of just all their information being plugged into AI without their knowledge of it. It's not good. It's not a good way to be. It's not a good way to go forward. So this whole thing with this whole feud, whether it's intentional or it's part of the show, it's to show, listen, we need all hands on deck here, because we're dismantling the deep state. That's the number one goal. Okay. And if you knew Q and you watched this show, you've known that the Epstein files aren't going to come out until until Q is ready to take down Israel. Because the Epstein files are going to open up that whole can of worms. I told you that from day one with President Trump. Okay. 2, I also told you that when he had that feud with Musk and then followed up with, are we still talking about this guy? That was to get the Democrats screaming for the Epstein files, because now they think he's in them. Folks, I see this so clearly, okay? So clearly. There is no question, given the information that we've already been given by Q regarding the child sexual abuse, the child trafficking, the foundations, the charities, Haiti, Clinton Foundation, excuse me. Cheers, by the way. See, we're awake now, okay? And you still have people equating Q to the Russian, the Bolshevik Revolution, where they had this thing where they were going to come in and save the day, and everyone got passive. That only works if people aren't armed, and they took the guns away and then implemented that. Okay. That Operation Trust, they called it, kind of like the Patriot Act, right? They had to take away their guns first. And that was Hillary's job to finish, was to get our guns. And we didn't bomb Iran for fucking Israel. That's another thing people don't get. we bombed Iran for the same reason we bombed North Korea, which nobody, like Q said, I can't believe nobody challenged the Trump administration for that mountain imploding where those nuclear weapons were. Those were the two places where the uranium one ended up, along with a lot of money, because they were helping them build, because that was going to be World War III. And you and I were going to be in a shitload of trouble. That was the plan. Trump took out North Korea in the first one, their nuclear weapons, and then he took out Iran's nuclear weapons facility in the second term. Had nothing to do with Israel. That was all, to me, that was just, come on. That was just making sure that those type of people don't have nuclear weapons, all right? Because we've already given nuclear weapons, or allowed certain countries to have nuclear weapons that shouldn't, aka Israel. And anybody with a Samson option, you got to question whether or not they should have nuclear weapons at all. But and especially seeing how aggressive and they've been with other countries. But so this to me is all to get rid of the fair weather MAGA, the fair weather patriots. We're already seeing it. We already saw it with the Israel thing. We saw people going out against Trump because of what they saw him doing with Israel. Meanwhile, if you look closely, his actions are very destructive to Israel. And what I wanted to talk about is that the UN voted unanimously, excuse me, to support the Gaza peace plan and the Gaza reorganization. So that's going forward. And let's see. Let me get to this. So at any rate, so all this is going down, the MTG stuff, and just like Musk, just like RFK was going against Trump and then got on board, just like Tulsi, just like all these people are coming back to Trump, coming back to Trump, coming back to Trump, and when you see that Paul and Massey were wrong about the big beautiful bill, because that's allowing Trump to take our country back. That MTG was wrong about the Epstein stuff, because he was always going to release that stuff, and he came out and said it today. Trump said today, and I knew this was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly, quite honestly. But when you see the level of reversal that people are having on Israel, and understanding, like, oh my God, look at how people are turning and realizing the truth of what's really going on. This is it may be time. It may be time, right? And he just came out today with Ray lied, okay, and that's in the Q drops, okay. Let me bring this up. There we go. Sorry. Ray lied, and then he reposted Chris Martineau, author. Christopher Wray testified before Congress that he did not place FBI agents in the crowd on J6. He also needs to be indicted for lying to Congress and do some hard time. These lawless Biden administration Democrats are literally self-identifying or being handed to the DOJ on a silver platter. Dear Pam Bondi, for the love of God, just arrest somebody. Chris Farley bit. He also reposted Obama's Russia hoax treason club. Comey's already been X'd out. McCabe, Stroke, Page, they're going to be testifying. Hill, Steele, Mark Elias, Weissman, Clinton, Brennan, Clapper. Brennan's going to be under investigation. Haspel, Rosenstein, Monaco, Ray, Orr. And Rosenstein's coming up too. Okay. And then President Trump posted, it was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed, against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standards. Think about that. Think about how the FBI is like, by the book, by the book, by the book. But against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standards, they put 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6th hoax. This is different from what Director Christopher Wray stated over and over again. That's right. As it now turns out, FBI agents were at and in the January 6th protest, probably acting as agitators and insurrectionists, but certainly not as law enforcement officials. I want to know who each and every one of these so-called agents are and what they were up to on that now historic day. Many great American patriots were made to pay a very big price only for the love of their country. I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Christopher Wray, the then director of the FBI, has some major explaining to do. That's 2 in a row. Comey and Wray, who got caught lying with our great country at stake. We can never let this happen to America again. Now, folks, if you think that because arrests didn't happen when you wanted them to happen or when you thought they should happen, does not mean they're not happening, especially when they're already being investigated and President Trump is flat out calling them out on his media platform. This is going to happen, folks. Because we're awake, we can't go back to sleep. All right, and this is I just don't understand it. That people don't get this just because, like, oh, it should have happened by now. Oh, really? Really? We're taking out a centuries-old cabal. And we are necessary. That's why we're in the huddle. Q has included us in the huddle. Trump has included us in the huddle because the transparency is a key part of this. Because if we don't have the transparency, then people aren't going to buy into the fact that these people have to be, taken out. So with all this going on, I thought, maybe I should go live this weekend. But then I thought, yeah, no, my folks, they got this. Like, they know this is bullshit. They know that they're not going to have anything on Trump. Because we have Q, because we know that this is so much bigger than anything we can imagine. And so I'm grateful to you. I think the smartest audience on the web here, folks, because we're not getting taken in. We're not reactionary. We're not emotional, because we understand the plan and we are seeing it play out beautifully. But you know what? Let me. I'm going to take you to this, and then I'm going to take you to President Trump's post. Here we go. President Trump
comment said that one day, very soon, I'm going to have to explain why I defended what they're calling Trump nowadays. The answer is pretty simple. I don't support that type of behavior at all. I never have, and I never will. But have you heard the story about the boy that cried wolf? I'm pretty sure you have, but if you haven't, go look it up. To summarize, when you catch somebody in a lie multiple times, you no longer believe anything they say. And that is exactly why I still support Donald Trump. Democrats said he colluded with Russia. Turns out that was a lie. Democrats claim that Donald Trump called neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. That was a lie. Democrats claim that Donald Trump suggested ingesting bleach to get rid of COVID. Another lie. Democrats claim that Donald Trump caused an insurrection. They even took his speech, chopped it up to make it seem like he said something completely different from what he actually said, and then broadcasted it on BBC. And now BBC is getting sued because that was a lie. They said that Donald Trump locked kids in cages. Turns out the photos were actually from underneath Obama. So once again, that was a lie. They said the border couldn't be closed or secured without passing a bill. That was a lie. They said that the tariffs were going to tank the stock market, which was another lie. They claimed that Donald Trump would never leave office the first time. That was a lie. They said that Donald Trump would start World War III. That was a lie. And if I kept listing off all of their lies, this video would be 15 minutes long. Ain't nobody got time for that. So the answer is really simple. I don't believe that these accusations are any more true than the ones that have already been debunked. So until you show me some hardcore, undisputable evidence, my conclusion is that the Democrats are lying pieces of shit, and this is just another one of their lies.
Yeah, they haven't brought it home yet, my friends. What makes you think that they're going to successfully do it this time? Right? I mean, it's just it's almost laughable. Okay, that we're still falling for this. If you are, but you guys aren't, which is fantastic. And it's so important that we're not falling for this stuff. This is this is so very important. Going after Ray, going after Comey, going after Brennan, okay? Going after the J6 stuff, the January 6th stuff, folks. It's just people are instinctively impatient. And as children, we wanted it. We wanted our birthday present now. We wanted our Christmas present now, even though it's November or whatever. You know, we want our treat before dinner. We want, this is kids growing up, and we were taught you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You have to be patient. And now we're seeing so much of this coming out. It's just uncanny. But for those of us that have been watching this for quite some time, it's just another day at the office, folks. What do I want to take you to here? Check this out.
Staff said, do your Privacy Act review and get out these documents. Well, they didn't do the Privacy Act review. They did the Mar-a-Lago raid. That was the whole point of the Mar-a-Lago raid, was to get back Crossfire Hurricane. And that's what led to the 3 years of the lawfare against President Trump after he left office. 4 indictments for non-crimes. January 6th was part of that, where these Democrats and even some Republicans were trying to use January 6th to try to get rid of MAGA more broadly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that stuff's coming out, like why they were, we've talked about this. They were going after the Crossfire Hurricane documents because Trump took them with him for evidence, for proof of the Arctic frost and the Crossfire Hurricane. I mean, it's unbelievable. Mizzo, yes, bring that up where it says Ray lied. I saw trust Ray, trust Dan, and trust yourself. It wasn't that. Let me bring this up for you. I misspoke. It was just Ray with the cross in front of him, okay, or over his picture, okay. And also Ray is a sleeper, which means he was on both sides, right? And we were told to trust Ray, but they showed us this on July 19th, 2020. And then they reposted July 19th, 2020 on October 21st with him crossed out. And again, President Trump's truth Truth Today showed him crossed out. So that's another QCOM right there, because that's what Q did. I showed Comey crossed out. Sorry. Comey crossed out. But, who's next? Ray, Brennan, okay? Stroke, Page. These will all be crossed out, folks. Steele, which is going to bring, the UK in. This is, going to bring in the, United Kingdom and the Five Eyes, because they were all a part of that conspiracy, right? So, this is unbelievable, folks. John Doskis. Yeah, if you can't see the truth at this point, you have to wake the heck up. I thought we were somewhat smart people. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's why we have the benefit of Q, right? So it's going to be it's going to be good, my friends. It's going to be amazing to watch this all unfold, as I believe it will, without question, which is why we have been shown what we've been shown time and time again. So I'll give you an example. The government shutdown, right? People were very critical. Yeah, the UK is heavily involved, without question. Whippenspur, yes. So the he was also in the J6 committee hearing for 4 years solid. He's a spy from the spy department. Yeah. And he put those 274, he was a part of it. I mean, nobody puts 274 agents in J6 without being a part of it, right? So, but remember, like, so much has happened that has awakened us up to something, like the government shutdown. Nobody was talking about, well, people were talking about some of the benefits that the illegals were getting, without question. The EBT cards, they were getting, places to live and money and all that. We knew all that. We didn't really understand the SNAP program until the government shut down, and we started seeing how little actual Americans, how few Americans were on the SNAP program versus the illegals. And that was a wake-up call that we needed. Let me share this with you here. This from Silver Girl.
Brand new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 children that the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were sex traffickers, gang members, and abusers. The Trump administration has already located more than 24,400 children, and some of these stories are absolutely heartbreaking, like this one. A 1-year-old unaccompanied minor crossed the border during the Obama administration. That little girl.
This is a different story. I'm sorry, I brought up the wrong video. You're probably thinking, what's this have to do with SNAP? This is one of the topics I wanted to show for you, and I put it in too soon. This was the well, obviously you're hearing it, but this is kind of what I'm talking about with Trump. Like, oh, he's Israel and and he's pushing back the Epstein files. Is like, folks, do you see what he's doing? Do you see what's happening? They're now going to do welfare checks on all those missing children and all the children that were placed into these situations that had crossed the border. Okay. Ryan Matta does a whole documentary on 160,000 children taken from Guatemala, and he's bashing Trump because of Trump's ties to Israel. Okay. I'm sorry, who shut down all of that trafficking on day one? Trump. Are you giving him any credit? Are you giving him a shout out for that? How about going after these missing children or these children that we're putting into these situations? These clowns, they don't understand what's going on, or they're being paid to do exactly what they're doing. And I'll let you decide which.
Is now 12 years old. During her 11 years in America, she lived with a series of relatives and endured horrifying abuse. According to Fox's Brooke Taylor, she was found in the custody of two sisters who have now been arrested. The 12-year-old was found, quote, with injuries all over her body, extreme malnutrition, and an infected gash on her head and zip ties around her wrist. Among those who abused this innocent child were her one-time sponsor, a distant uncle that she was placed with in 2024, despite being an illegal immigrant with a criminal conviction. That sponsor, that alleged abuser, was given temporary protected status by the Biden administration. Why? Here is video that Brooke Taylor obtained of the Trump administration arresting that man just yesterday. This is just one of the nearly 500,000 children that the Trump administration is seeking to protect. And this operation comes after the administration announced that Operation Dirtbag, conducted in partnership with the state of Florida, resulted in the arrest of 230 criminal illegal immigrants, including 150 sexual predators. Here was Deputy ICE Director Madison Sheehan announcing that development.
In just 10 days, we've been able to remove, in partnership with the state of Florida, over 230 of the worst heinous criminals from their streets. Our job as law enforcement is to protect the most vulnerable. Democrats will tell you that that is the criminal illegal aliens who they have let run free in our communities, but not this group of law enforcement. We know that it's the children that is our job to protect.
This is huge. This is going to get to the bottom of the child trafficking that's happening within our country. Bobby Kennedy said that the HHS are the biggest child traffickers in the world in a cabinet meeting. You don't think action's being taken when that's said, when that's discovered by this administration? What are you smoking? Because I don't want any of it. Okay. Look at what is happening. Okay. The SNAP benefits that I wanted to tell you about. The SNAP benefits are, you have to reapply for the SNAP benefits. So what's that going to do? Well, they're going to be much more stringent. So you're going to have to prove citizenship. So how many hundreds of millions of dollars is that going to save our country? Right? Excuse me. So that's huge. But we don't know these are problems until we're exposed to it. You can't tell people the truth. You must show them, and they are showing everybody the truth here. And this is huge, right? Whoever even heard of SNAP before it was highlighted, you knew some bad about insurance. Yeah, exactly. So we needed to be exposed to that. I'm saying, folks, honestly, I think this is a white hat script because it's so brilliantly being played into the hands of the Trump administration and the Q operation. But if it's a black hat operation, they are doing stuff that just isn't working. It's almost like, Hail Mary passes to the end zone by the losing team. Like they're trying anything if that's a black hat script. But I believe it's a white hat script because look at SNAP. Look at the I believe the Democrats were told you have to let the government fail. And the majority of the people, according to the polls, but those are questionable, blamed the Republicans. But I think in the end, people saw that it was the Democrats. Yeah, it's worldwide corruption. All of this is just, it's so huge. It's so huge. Let's see. I heard today that Hillary and Bill will not be testifying. Last month, the lawyers didn't have time for Hillary. I heard the couple refuses to show. Is that possible? They will be taken down. And I believe that part of this could be the optics to say, well, what do they have to hide? Why won't they come in and testify? But that's obvious. Epstein financed the Clinton Global Initiative, like that started their foundation. Epstein funded that. Kevin, 468,000 children missing this year. Unbelievable. Yeah, this shit's got to stop. This shit's got to stop. And I'm seeing the trajectory of this. I'm seeing the direction this is going, and it's making sense to me, right? And so, that's going to be huge. It's going to save us taxpayers huge amounts of money. Okay. The other thing today, which was very interesting, let me find it for you here, is that the Fed. Let me see if I bookmarked that. Where the Fed said that 150 years shows that Trump was right, that on the tariffs. Let me see if I can find that. They're also given $16 billion total in support of farmers that were, lost their farms to drought, lost their farms to storms or flooding. That's going to help our farmers. They're speeding up visas for the World Cup ticket holders, so people can come and enjoy the World Cup. And I think this is showing, hey, we want diversity. We want people to be able to come and visit but go home. But also, I think it's starting to show, like, what cities are we going to place these World Cup games in, because the whole what Newsom's doing, what Pritzker's doing, New York, like, they're not, wanting the National Guard to come in and clean up the cities, and the cities are shit. And so they're not safe. And so President Trump has already said, we're not going to, put our foreign friends in harm's way. Another huge thing is that the VA restored the GI Bill for the vets that were discharged over not taking the COVID shots. That's huge, right? Yeah, 187,000 people on SNAP that were dead. Right? Unbelievable. 29 states turned over their SNAP rolls, but the rest refused. Interesting. Why would they refuse? We know why, right? Without question. SNAP used to be called the food stamp program almost 20 years ago. Okay, right. Yeah. So, Ravenswing says in South Carolina, you have to work 20 hours per week unless you're disabled. Awesome. Awesome. Mary Drinks Beer says, a friend of mine with her family waiting on her flight today were told it was delayed, and 15 minutes later, the marshals came on the plane and cuffed 3 people. Interesting. California and Illinois suing for stamps. Yep. A judge just ruled the National Guard has to leave Memphis because it's not an emergency situation. Unbelievable. Yeah. Just heard Harvard president is stepping down related to the list. Interesting. And how about the, was it the CEO of Walmart stepped down last week? Let's see. Wonder if they're planning on using AI to run the government efficiently. Well, I tell you, folks, I've been doing a lot of research on this because I'm using AI to help me set up the whole business plan and the whole structure of the Rubicon, which is Snedheads will become the Rubicon with a Q. As a matter of fact, if you go to therubicon.com, it'll take you to Snedheads. And AI, I'm learning more and more about AI, and I suggest that you embrace AI because it is an inevitability. But I want you to benefit from the inevitability. And you can do certain things, like you can use AI anonymously. You can use an email address that's not linked to you. You can use it anonymously. You can tell them your name is, Fred Slate or something. Like, you can use a fake name and they'll call you Fred and they'll think you're Fred, and all the information you give them, they'll think is Fred Slate's, and he's at, fredslate@gmail.com or whatever. And you're like, you make up that email. So there are ways that you can use it where it's not, tracking everything you're doing. But I definitely am seeing it as a benefit to us moving forward if you take advantage of that. And in terms of, like, using AI and using some things that are definitely going to benefit the government, benefit us. This is from Silver Girl 2. Red Eagle updates: the Pentagon plans to fire around 5,400 employees next week as part of a major effort to cut waste, remove inefficiency, and hold bureaucrats accountable. So that's the direction we are going, is much more efficient, much more income for you and I, through fewer taxes, better economy, actual dividends. Let me pull this up for you here. So all right, you with me? Here we go. All right. The Fed study vindicates the Trump trade policy. 150 years of evidence shows that tariffs lower, cost of living, lower taxes. Powell hasn't been cutting the. Excuse me. Powell hasn't been cutting the rates for fear of inflationary risks from tariffs. Meanwhile, the whole thing was based on faulty information. Market Watch says Jerome Powell is a disaster, as well as the rest of the Fed, who missed Biden inflation and now have fucked America with their tariffs, cause inflation. It is idiocy, not to mention Kugler trading on inside information or Cook's mortgage fraud. Fed researchers study 150 years of tariff policy. Regardless of our identification approach, we obtain the same result. A tariff hike lowers CPI inflation and raises unemployment. So the inflation response goes against the predictions of standard models, whereby CPI inflation should go up in response to higher tariffs. That was the Federal Bank of San Francisco on Thursday. So I'll give you an example. Is Rand Paul and Thomas Massie going to come back and say, Trump was right, we were wrong, we're sorry? Meanwhile, Trump has destroyed both of their careers, and that will further destroy it, because they should have been on board with Trump and the big, beautiful bill. And so, because these guys, remember, these guys that may be good men, Massie doesn't take any money from AIPAC. And so there's some definite, pluses to them and their integrity. But really, you don't see what President Trump is doing and what he's trying to do, and you're getting in the way of that. You're either in MAGA, on board with MAGA, or you're in the way. Massie, Paul, Green were in the way. They were getting in the way. Don't get in his way, because you see what happens, right? Yeah. So Mizzo says, yeah, Oz came out today and said 4.4 million people are on Medicaid, Medicare that don't even know it. There's only 24.3 million people using that ACA service. Population is 342 million. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we're getting rid of this mess that is basically showing us this. This is a clip from Geiger Capital.
Saying it's above target, or tariffs are going to cause a bunch of inflation, which it ain't happening. It should have already happened. We're not seeing it. We're not forecasting it. So, start giving me a lot better reasons for saying you're not going to cut. Saying it's above target, or tariffs are going to cause a bunch of inflation, which it ain't happening. It should have already happened. We're not seeing it. We're not forecasting it. So, start giving me a lot better reasons for saying you're not going to cut. Saying it's above target, or tariffs are going to cause a bunch of inflation, which it ain't happening. It should have already happened. We're not seeing it. We're not forecasting it. So, start giving me a lot better reasons for saying you're not going to cut.
Yeah, because those reasons aren't working. Here's Oz on the Obamacare.
But we still don't have a marketplace in America to help couples like that. We want to try to craft that. There are ideas that would allow us to do that. For example, we could give them the money instead of giving it to the insurance companies.
So that's a conversation that has been happening about giving. President has said there are billions of dollars that the government could send directly to people to purchase their own much better health care. How would that even work?
Well, we don't have market forces at play right now. Think about, what is it called? It's called the Obamacare Exchange. It's a marketplace. What does marketplace mean? People actually have a role in a marketplace. They make decisions about what they value. It was originally designed to be 50% truly people from the private sector, like that couple coming in, and then 50% government subsidized folks who couldn't afford their insurance. We have priced the systems now so heavily with government subsidies that they crowds out the private sector.
How would a check, getting a check in the mail, actually work?
If you had a check in the mail, you could buy the insurance you thought was best for you.
Right, but how would the government actually make that happen?
Oh, we could use health savings accounts. There are different tactics, flexible savings accounts. There are tools that exist right now that we could use. The question is that the best way for us to use taxpayer dollars? And This is critical. Is it sustainable? If we truly create a marketplace, can people use that money to wisely use their power to buy insurance that helps them?
Yeah, and it's going to be, much better than Obamacare. And these dividends, again, that's going to bring a lot of people around. We were talking about taxation. I mean, this was 1775, 2% tax, and we had a war. Okay. And now it's like 40% tax, and it's like, okay, it's normal. This is a crock of shit that we've got to put a stop to, without question. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. This is such a big deal, my friends. Like, this is like what we're watching is the takedown of this entire operation that has been enslaving humanity, and it's not even close. I wanted to get to the Epstein a little bit, and I wanted to say, listen, see, I've been talking about Epstein, like when he was arrested, what was it, 2000 and whenever he was arrested in Florida. And he did 12 months, ridiculous sentence, because he was able to go to work every day, go to his office, do whatever he wanted. It was a joke. It was like not even arrest. All he did was sleep in that jail. But when that happened, I had a friend of mine come to me and said, shit, man, you were talking about Epstein 3 years ago, telling us the Clintons were involved, the whole bit. Yes. But because I was so far out ahead of everything, because I knew the Clintons, because I knew about Epstein and all that, I lost credibility with a lot of people, because I thought that, I believed in a just world. And so I thought they would have been taken out. And yes, he's still alive, without question. I said that, the morning of, I went live that morning, said he's alive, because we've never seen what do you call it? Not a kill list, the thing that kept him alive was blackmail. And the whole idea with being kept alive with blackmail is, hey, if anything happens to me, all this is going to be released. And that's why he was untouched for as long as he was. And so, yeah. And yeah, and it'll tie directly back to Israel, without question. So I've been talking about Epstein a long time. So when these influencers are trying to throw Trump under the bus and trying to link him to Epstein and all that, I don't want to come across as like I'm not pulling for the Epstein victims, because I have before most people ever knew what the fuck was going on. But I just know that Trump is not involved, because there wouldn't be the type of information that was released by Q if Trump was involved. It just doesn't make any sense. And we've heard this many times, if excuse me, if they had anything on him, that's what they were using it for. You got to understand that the whole Epstein thing was an Israel honeypot that once blackmailed, and let me pull this up first. This is Robert David Steele talking about this.
Jeffrey Epstein has every major U.S. politician on video doing something terrible, probably to a child, okay, or to multiple people. The bottom line here is the United States government has become so corrupt that the time has come, I think, to clean the crap out of the stables and start over. Jeffrey Epstein has every major U.S. politician on video doing something terrible, probably to a child, okay, or to multiple people. The bottom line here is the United States government has become so corrupt that the time has come, I think, to clean the crap out of the stables and start over. Jeffrey Epstein has every major U.S. politician on video doing something terrible, probably to a child, okay, or to multiple people. The bottom line here is the United States government has become so corrupt that the time has...
Sorry for the replay on that. I had to go get a Kleenex. And then I knocked the light over onto Jasper, and so he got up and went running away. I feel kind of bad. But so what's important to understand here is that this is a honeypot operation by Israel, by the Mossad, and it's going to link directly back to them. So that we have to be awake to Israel to accept that, first of all. And that's happening, like across X. Wow. Like we're seeing who the pro-Israel agents are that are being paid. We found out how much money they're making for each post, $7,000. People talking about the shekels, and we're seeing who are completely, locked into the archaic message of the Bible about Israel instead of the people of Israel. The nation of Israel, and somehow equating that and how we have to support Israel. That was just a fucking con job, folks. Brought to you by your 501c3 pastors. Okay. And so believe me, I am very compassionate for the women who experienced this, that were the tools of this honeypot. So my support of Donald Trump does not take away from that at all. In fact, it reinforces it, because he was one of the only ones that spoke out and helped them, go after Epstein.
I suffered so much pain.
So much pain.
So much pain.
I suffered so much pain. I was 14 years old.
I was 16 years old.
I was 16.
17.
14 years old.
This is me.
This was me.
This is me.
When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how many videos you do, doesn't matter how many congressmen you call, if you don't have the leadership of President Trump to do this, it's not going to happen in a way that it needs to happen. So why has he been pushing back on it? Because he needed the Democrats to ask for it. He needed the media to cry for it. And look what's happening now. It's unbelievable. Folks, this is a fresh story dropped by BP through Moonbeam here. Let me take us to this. FBI raids hospital director's secret $52 million cartel empire. Here we go.
Pounds of heroin discovered in the basement of a prestigious hospital director in Seattle.
At the ungodly hour of 5:14 a.m. on a typically dreary Seattle morning, The usual pre-dawn silence was, let's say, rudely interrupted. The front door of a 2-story suburban home, owned by a 56-year-old Dr. Lawrence Whitlock, a respected Seattle hospital director, got a rather aggressive house call from a federal battering ram. Inside, the place looked painfully ordinary at first glance. Family portraits, diplomas on the wall, the whole life built on Trust Starter Pack. But down the narrow basement stairs, the story took a sharp left turn. Agents found a casual 50 pounds of heroin. Beside it, a locked weapons cache, for hobbies, short-barrel rifles, modified handguns, and ammo crates with official cartel branding. Then they found the room that made even the most hardened agents pause. A hidden surgical chamber. We're talking stainless steel tables, big overhead operating lights, and medical instruments all laid out with obsessive-compulsive precision. A man sworn to heal had apparently decided to franchise his home out to a cartel, trading his oath for a much more lucrative business model. If you find the idea of a hospital director moonlighting as a cartel operative absolutely wild, comment expose below. If you target our community, if you attempt to take advantage of the vulnerable in our community, we will arrest you and bring you to justice. The deeper federal investigators dug into Dr. Lawrence Whitlock's business, the faster his respectable do-gooder image completely disintegrated. What had looked for years like the polished career of a top hospital director was, in reality, the corporate headquarters for a massive criminal operation, one that blended the authority of a white coat with cartel-level brutality in a way that was new to even seasoned agents. Within hours, accountants uncovered 23 shell corporations. Border team ready. It didn't take a genius to figure out patience was his cute code for human trafficking victims. The real kicker was a folder simply labeled logistics, and yet millions of dollars were flowing through them, cleverly disguised as grants and medical supply fees from contacts in Venezuela and Mexico. Whitlock's day job gave him the kind of access most criminals only dream of. Through charity programs and official partnerships, he was quietly greasing the palms of inspectors, city officials, and regional administrators. Encrypted emails revealed coded messages to his cartel partners: "Move the patients tonight." Inside were transport schedules for 9 kidnapped individuals, complete with medical notes and their projected use value. Next to it, a ledger outlining a narcotic shipment. 1 ton of heroin, 1.5 tons of meth and fentanyl, all mapped out to travel on Washington's public ferry system, of all things. Before sunrise, by the time agents put the final piece in place, the truth was unavoidable. Whitlock wasn't just helping a cartel, he was a damn board member, using his medical authority as a cover to move drugs, organs, and people through the Pacific Northwest with, you guessed it, surgical precision. And the next shipment was already heading for the water. If you believe this kind of evil shouldn't get to hide behind a white coat, hit the like button so this story gets out. By 3 a.m., federal commanders knew the clock had run out. The intel was no longer a puzzle. It was a ticking time bomb. 9 kidnapped victims were stuck in a cartel warehouse near the Everett waterfront, while a convoy packed with 1 ton of heroin and 1.5 tons of meth and fentanyl was getting ready to roll out before dawn. Inside the Joint Operations Center, the air was so thick with tension it felt like you could taste metal. The maps, timelines, and body heat scans all pointed to one ugly conclusion. The cartel was loaded for bear, dug in deep, and ready for a fight to the bitter end. The mission status was immediately upgraded to a high-risk hostage rescue. The big guns, FBI, HRT, DEA, FAST, and ICE, HSI formed a unified strike team. There were no speeches, no wasted noise, just the quiet, methodical clicking of weapons checks and a few grim nods before they moved out. As the convoy of unmarked SUVs closed in on Everett, the agents got their first sign of trouble. Silhouettes on the rooftops, lookouts with rifles scanning the road. Yeah, the cartel was waiting for a guest. They just weren't expecting Uncle Sam to crash the party. The raid kicked off with a boom that lit up the harbor like the 4th of July. A DEA breaching charge went off, right against the eastern wall. The wall just tore open, showering the loading bay with sparks. Instantly, a hailstorm of bullets erupted from inside the warehouse. The agents hit the deck behind concrete barriers as bullets chewed into the steel columns. The cartel had set up firing ports along the interior walls. This place was a fortress. This was a setup for a war zone, not some simple smuggling gig. Shooter, catwalk, right. An FBI sniper took the shot through a busted skylight, nailing the gunman before he could line up another shot with that scoped rifle. Inside, the warehouse was a death trap, a maze designed for an ambush. Forklifts were tipped over, making for perfect barricades, and chemical drums were stacked up to create makeshift bunkers.
Get your free copy.
Pretty badass. We're seeing stuff like that going on. We're seeing the capture of child traffickers, the rescue of children. The DOJ announced today that they've captured 600 people that were charged in elder fraud crackdown. So, you know, these people taking grandma and grandpa or you or I for, you know, a lot of money, they're taking them out. And this seems like the focus is on the children and the elderly, and which I'm down for. And also, we're seeing how difficult it can be to shut down operations like you just saw here in the U.S. And what we're seeing is President Trump taking care of that with the border, with the boats, and also going straight to China with the FBI to crack down on the precursors to fentanyl. They're stopping it from the source, my friends. A lot of protests in Mexico over the weekend, Flower Power, protesting the president, protecting the cartels. Scheinbaum, she's not gonna last, folks. And President Trump declaring war on the cartels, it's going to be like the U.S. cities. Like they're going to, you know, we're going to be able to go in with the military. I without question, I think that's going to happen. Really good stuff happening, folks. Like don't let these naysayers and these never Trumpers or these people that, you know, pretended to be on the Trump train. And by the way, that ad many of you mentioned that Silver Girl shared with me on the Epstein victims. It was on the NFL commercial. It was on ESPN. This is hitting the mainstream. Like, call your congressman, get it done. They're getting people that think Trump's in them to do it, because the people that just want it released, we've already done that. But the people that couldn't have been fucking bothered, but now are suddenly enthusiastic about the Epstein list because they think, oh, this is going to take Donald Trump down. I'm going to get on this. That's what that was all about, without question. Without question. I knew you didn't need me this weekend. I honestly felt that. I'm like, yeah, I could go live and, you know, assuage some of the fears, but they don't need that. They already know the way I think. They already know that we think that that's a criteria for coming into the Sned Shed. Like, to be a Snedhead, you've got to think for yourself, but you've got to really think, and you've got to think critically and not let emotional drive you. That's how they've done half the things they've done, is emotional women, that they have used your compassion, because nobody's got compassion like women. The mothers, the womb, the protection of your tribe, of your children, of your creating a home, and, you know, all these incredible attributes that are women, like, that should be celebrated, like, above and beyond, you know, some guy going out and working a 14-hour day. Yeah, he's bringing home the bacon, but the woman is just so vital in this world. But they're using your emotional reactions and your compassion against you. It is misplaced compassion that drives this cabal, the socialism, the border. Like, we shouldn't have borders. Everybody should be welcome, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. That's what they're tapping into. That's why they've been able to do the things they've been able to do. Making abortion a right when it's not a right. In the Constitution, the 10th Amendment says anything not mentioned in the Constitution directly reverts to the states. That's what the Supreme Court ruled on under Trump. That's the way it must be. Check out this little interview. I want to talk to you about this in a second.
Why also recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson should play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward?
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him.
Should he be?
Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
First of all, destroys mainstream media again, Bloomberg, right? But then listen to this again.
Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Get the word out. Now, people that are MAGA are lambasting Trump for, not being vehemently against Tucker having Nick Fuentes on. And that's why all the, Mark Levin today said, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes are, they're all a joke. They're vile, evil people. And I just said, hey, Mark, how much did you get paid for this post? We know you're getting paid, by who and how much. And, but to get the word out about what? Well, Fuentes' biggest word is, by the way, he's not a Trump supporter because of Trump's relationship with Israel. So Trump should be the first one saying Nick Fuentes is a joke. Why is he not doing that? Because Fuentes is bringing up really good, important points about Israel and about the Jews. Now, does he go overboard? Is he very, is he young? Is he brash? Is he sometimes very controversial? Yes. But it's a voice, just like anybody's voice, that if you don't like it, you turn it off. You turn the channel, right? Isn't it funny how we say turn the channel, but we're pushing a button, right? Or saying, take me to NFL football or whatever, because we were going up to the TV and turning past UHF and VHF and, fixing the antenna. So you can turn the channel, right? And that's what this is all about. But get the word out. That's some, important word to get out. Like about what's going on with Israel, and that's all coming out. So it's very interesting to see Trump respond in the way he did, and I'm glad he did. So this is folks, this is getting really interesting, and let's see. Okay, let me see what else I want to get in here for you tonight. Let's see. Okay, so this is really important 5 minutes that I need you to see here regarding the border. Here we go.
Distinguished members, thank you for this opportunity. The only true consequence we have to slow down and discourage people from coming into the United States illegally is sending them back to their country of origin. Throughout the first 3+ years of this administration, I saw a steady decrease in the countries we could send people back to. For the first time in my 25 years and under 5 different administrations, whether through neglect or on purpose, I saw a large-scale lapse in our ability to return people to their country of origin. The inability to send people home meant that most people being arrested for illegal entry would either have to be detained or released. The current administration, however, from day one, made a point of decreasing the amount of detention space available nationwide. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's funding for detention has steadily been cut and private detention eliminated. The fact that so many illegal aliens are being released into the United States spread worldwide very quickly. As this happened, the numbers the Border Patrol encountered illegally crossing the border increased exponentially. The impact to me and my agents were significant. Sectors were ordered to take in and process all the illegal aliens encountered on the border. The Border Patrol saw groups of hundreds and thousands coming into the United States and turning themselves in. These numbers pulled 80, 90, sometimes 100% of the agents on duty away from the border. Border Patrol zones across Texas, Arizona, and California had no agent presence for weeks and months at a time. Those who did not want to be caught could simply walk in. We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time. Throughout 2022 and 23, I sent agents to Texas and Arizona to count gotaways. Those sectors could not even put enough agents in the field to see what they'd missed. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area.
So again, collusion, conspiracy to make America think that there wasn't a problem at the border. Okay, this is really big.
Sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis. Once these flights were stopped and the releases continued, California saw the true economic impact. I received calls from the governor's office, local mayors, and hospital administrators asking me if we could keep injured aliens in custody so the federal government would pay the medical bills. Through pressure from the administration, my headquarters became more interested in the fiction that being portrayed in the media and not at all concerned with reality. Each time we asked for help in dealing with a new issue, it fell on deaf ears. At times in San Diego, we had 2,000 or more aliens sitting in between the fences asking to turn themselves in. I was told to move them out of sight of the media. Meanwhile, Border Patrol agents are continually forgotten and neglected by the media and this administration. These agents deal with death, women and children that have been raped, abused, trafficked, bought and sold, families that have spent months in terrible conditions, sickness, and despair. If you look at the dramatic rise in the number of suicides within the Border Patrol, it is directly correlated with the migrant surge. The agents have been pushed beyond their limit, and this has greatly impacted their physical and mental health. While current numbers of aliens crossing our border are lower in comparison in recent months, there's a reason for this. After nearly 4 years, this administration finally started to ask Mexico for help in slowing down the traffic through their country. This and other actions make a difference, but why has it taken so long? All of these tactics were being used before this administration took office, but this administration stopped or greatly limited them. I'm also concerned this will not be maintained. The problems we are facing at the border have solutions. These solutions can be quite simple and cost far less than the mess currently occupying so much time and money. The return to a policy of enforcing the law and returning illegal aliens to their home countries is required. Thank you.
there's evidence, okay, that this is what was going down, right? And that's really important because it was obvious to us that this was an operation, the border. And it was the return of human trafficking, the return of drug trafficking after Trump shut down business for 4 years. And it was put out there to make sure that, they got their votes, with these illegal immigrants. That's why the election reform is so important. Pete says that get the word out is in 3 Q posts. Pete, great catch, brother. Appreciate that. Let me take you to those. November 5th, post 96, Obama sent $221 million to Palestinians right before leaving office. Okay. Amazing how things make sense once you are asked a question. That's the entire point of this operation. It's up to you all to collect, archive safely, and distribute in a graphic that is in order with the crumb dumps. This was obviously important because Q knew that they were going to take down 8chan, then eventually, or 4chan, then 8chan. Then they had to move over to 8kun. So Q wanted us to archive and also distribute in graphics that couldn't be searched by the bots that would keep you from spreading the word, which is also why, excuse me, you can't share Q alerts or any of the Q drops on X still, or on Facebook or anything, because they block that out because they don't want you sharing Q stuff. It will all make sense. Once it does, we look to you to spread and get the word out. Timestamps will help you validate authenticity. Your president needs your help. He wants full transparency for the great people of this country. Everything stated is for a reason. God bless patriots. Everything stated is for a reason. Do you mean like, are we still talking about this Epstein guy that Trump said on the day there were 4 or 5 Epstein posts, deltas on the Q drops? Remember that live show that night? I said, guys, what are you freaking out about? Look at the Q drops on the delta today. All right, this is Q Plus saying, are we still talking about this guy? Meanwhile, Q has like 4 deltas about Epstein. Everything stated is for a reason. Okay. Let me take you back to the drops here. The other one, expand your thinking. This was November 20th. So we got a delta coming up in 3 days. What are patterns? How are patterns formed and isolated? What are data sets? What is a map? Regarding Twitter, repeat, important. What action is Twitter taking effective mid-December? What is the purpose of this action? This was the takedown of all of our, accounts, basically, because we were challenging, what's her name? Christy Teigen, because of her pedophile posts. And so they took down a bunch of QAnon in mid-December. What is the purpose of this action? Possible test to understand public government response. When was this announced? When did events in Saudi Arabia transpire? Who controlled a large portion of Twitter stock? I was just talking to my friend Lee today, talking about Prince Al-Walid. He owned a large portion of Twitter stock. So when this events in Saudi Arabia happened, they took away his stock. And that's when Q first got their fingers in the Twitter code. Why is this relevant? Expand your thinking. What is the real purpose of this action? What is this SS, Secret Service? Who is a primary person protected under the Secret Service? President. What action is Twitter taking effective mid-December? Now, this is also, I don't know if they're talking about the takedown of, no, because this was before, because that didn't happen until 2020. So forgive me, folks. I misspoke. The Twitter takedown of all the Q accounts wasn't until 2019. This is 2017. And what they're talking about is that Twitter developed the technology that tracked your tweets in real time, location geotracking. Okay. Would POTUS be able to use Twitter post action? The answer is no. Define the known action. Why is MSM ignoring this action? What transpired with POTUS's Twitter account a short time ago? Reread crumbs on this topic necessary. 2 scenarios, lose-lose. POTUS advised by Secret Service to terminate use of Twitter due to new website tracking policy, cookies, among other spyware not disclosed. Risk. First time they failed. Reread. First time they failed. POTUS silenced on Twitter due to new policy regarding Secret Service and risk. Direct message failure. POTUS refuses to be silenced. Bad actors gather metadata and targeting. Small example of the ongoing silent war. Options, regulate. Problem, time to complete. The regulation would have taken time. Solution, patriots, get the word out. Jason Bourne, Deep Dream. Trump's removal from Twitter was strategic because they were strategically tracking him to kill him. So they couldn't use Twitter. So they made it like he was being censored. So then he goes and starts Truth Social, right? And stops using Twitter. Creates $1 billion business, by the way. Pretty convenient, but took a lot of work and took a lot of faith and a lot of followers to get over to Truth Social. So they made that decision, but they made it look like it was Twitter's decision. That's how much they had control of Twitter at the time. They couldn't track, they couldn't affect the tracking that they had in place. And they couldn't make it look like they were taking over Twitter. That's why they had Elon Musk, the darling of the left, come in to do what he was doing. So, my friends, we're at 2 hours here, and I wanted to keep it short because I think we got a full week. I actually, I will not be on tomorrow night, but I will be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week. So please join me then. I have not put this up today, but always ask for your support for this this show and this important message that I'm getting out. And folks, when it's all said and done, and I've said this a long time, I'm going to still be standing because I don't follow false prophets. I don't follow bullshit. I do my homework. I bring receipts. And when this is all said and done, yours truly will be standing head high, having not, made millions off this movement, took it very seriously, took your trust in me very seriously, and with honor and with truth. And so I appreciate your support of this Truthcast, and I appreciate your respect for me and the work that I do. I'm constantly honored by your input, your contributions to this platform, to this community, to Snedheads, and I look forward to much more of that. In the meantime, my friends, we must stay the course, and we must keep our heads held high. And it is going to be a difficult road, I still believe, but it is going to be one that we never have to go down again if we do it correctly. And I believe that's exactly what's taking place. And that's also exactly why it's taking so long. All right, my friends, thanks for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you Wednesday night, 8 Central Time, and getting into this a bit more at that time. And much love to you all. Thanks for joining me, and be well. Good night.